So I think from our perspective, this is a very complex problem. I mean, it's a great view that you sort of chalked up, but at the end of the day, I mean, will become social, but I don't think every single website will become social. There are enough cases which you hopefully can think of where you don't necessarily want your friends to be there. And what exactly are friends? So if I build my own friend circle or my own connections on LinkedIn, are they necessarily friends on my social network, like High Five? Are they also my friends on, let's say, Yelp, which is more of a review site? So the notion that there is one source of truth for your identity or for your profile data is a notion that social networks feel very strongly about right now. But I think it's a notion that will probably break down, because just to think that that's the place where you're going to have your professional contacts, you're going to have the people you share reviews with, or the people you actually blog about, or the people you just socially interact with is not going to extend.
Yeah, I think that that notion is absolutely right. There are these different domains in which we have these social interactions, and Charlene actually, I think, has a slide on this talking about all the different types of circles that we have. But I think in a lot of ways, as this marketplace shapes up, one of the key things, and what I think of will be the social graph provider wars, there will in fact be market competition between those social graphs that are highly articulated and those that are essentially one size fits all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from our perspective also, you have to understand the end user experience. Like, what does it really mean? Should I bring my friends from High Five, or should I bring my friends from Orkut? Should I bring my friends from iGoogle? What does it really mean? Who are my friends? So if I need to go to Amazon and let's say I want to view, in theory it sounds really good if only I could see Amazon just through the lens of my friends. But which friends are we talking about here? And is it just the friend graph? What about privacy? So that's really important to us. And who controls the privacy? Is the privacy tethered to the social network? Is it tethered to LinkedIn, which is the professional network? Which aggregator is it tethered to, right? So that's the other problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a few comments about what both said. Okay, about privacy, I agree that's one of the pieces of the puzzle that you should add, I think, to your list. Because that's one of the missing pieces today. We need some new standards in this area. And in Friend Connect, for example, you can choose your friends today from Plaxo or from Orkut, but what I like to go is to be finer grain, like say my professional friends from Plaxo on this site, and that other site it will be only my drinking buddy from Orkut. So we need some new standards in this area, and that's the area I think that's under-specified for now. So there will be some action in this space. In a more general trend, I think that we're seeing with OpenSocial and with all these APIs is a distribution of the web. And I think OpenSocial and the social API, like becoming like air, like you said, I think it's a very good metaphor. I think is only the tip of the iceberg of a more global distribution of the web that we see today. Today, if you go on a website, I'm pretty sure in average you'll see 80% of the content that comes from the website itself, and then maybe 20% widgets and content coming through RSS feeds or external data sources on that site. I think that proportion is going to be completely reversed in 5 years, where you'll have 20% of the content that comes from the website itself, and 80% that's completely distributed, that's coming from Amazon or Google, or where you interact with your friends on various social networks. And all these APIs and standards are going to help you mash all this together on the web, which means that web pages are going to be componentized into these little widgets that are themselves fed through APIs. One of the big trends that I can see coming in OpenSocial especially is now that we have a standard for application to be able to run on each social network, what I think many application providers, and some of them that I talked to are already planning for that, they're going to do a federation by themselves. Let's say I have a photo application and I'm super successful with it. And my photo application is running on Orkut, MySpace, High Five, and it's, let's say it gets 50% of the user base of all these social networks. I just socialize the specific object, a specific vertical, which is photos. Now, I have another developer who's developing another application that needs photos. And where is the developer going to grab the photos from? I think what will happen is that the developer who has created this photo application is going to start opening up some APIs to other developers of social application to grab the photos from there. And now you rinse and repeat, and you do that for each of the verticals. You do that for photos, for movies, for slides, any kind of social object that people are going to socialize. And then you will start to see popping all these APIs that you can use either on your website or on your social application, where you'll say, oh, okay, I'm just going to use Photo Buckets API to grab the photos from here, and then maybe the SlideShare API to grab the slides from there, and I'm going to mash that up into my own website. So I think that distribution of the web, OpenSocial just accelerated that because it provides a model for distributing these APIs. But I think we'll see a lot of that in the next few years.
So making it a lot easier to add these social elements in. Okay.
Exactly. Not only social, I think you're going to add lots of elements that could build richer web experience where we can socialize around many more objects than today.
Just want to open up to questions from the audience about this whole future of the federated social networks. Yeah, you have a question.
So I have two questions. One related to the recent comment made on OpenID, or rather privacy. One is, in telephony, we've always had privacy as in the form of CLI screening, for example, right? When I'm calling someone, I can dial *69 and say, don't show my ID, or something like that. And there's also the ability, well, at least in the old days, there was some level of guarantee that if you saw a certain phone number on your caller ID, that was actually really the phone number that the person had. At least in landline, PSTN, telephony, that's still the case. With VoIP, things change. You can put in any secure. So do you think there is a potential, especially with OpenSocial, to provide either a set of APIs or infrastructure to provide quote-unquote social network identity screening functionality, meaning some sort of an aggregator or a service provider, or maybe Google is the service provider in that case, that validates the identity of a person. And we see this already, like if you sign up on a social network and if you don't upload your picture, people are not going to talk to you if they don't know you, right? They'll be like, okay, I don't know who this is. And people are themselves, consumers are themselves figuring out really raw and rudimentary ways to screen others before they start interacting socially. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so that one is relatively easy because I think you can do that with a current spec already with OpenSocial. What OpenSocial guarantees you is that when you get the social data from a user, what we call the container, which is the social site that hosts it. Let's take Orkut, for example. When you get the data from Orkut, Orkut can sign the data. So can say, this request is really coming from Orkut, so I guarantee you that the user for which you get the profile right now is user John on Orkut. That said, what's missing from the puzzle is if you want to sign a contract based on this data, that wouldn't work because on Orkut at least, we don't check their driver's license ID or anything. Just anybody can create a profile and put some dummy information in there. So we don't have that level of verification that you would need to do some business deals based on that. But at least the API allow you to make sure that this is this user defined on this social network and not some spammy thing coming from anywhere else.
So do you see any opportunity for APIs or infrastructure that provides that sort of screening, maybe through your other partners in the Federation?
So I think you would need another provider that would address this specific need. And okay, I many years ago I used to work at Netscape, and we were talking to the French post office about having them issuing some digital certificate, and that was like 10 years ago, to all the citizens in France, so that they could do e-commerce transaction based on that. It never worked. So there's some room for one player that could play that role where they would reconcile your Orkut and Plaxo user and then ask you to go to the post office and show your driver's license and sign the whole stuff and offer you an API to make some secure transaction based on that.